Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a really fascinating book, one that basically introduced the soul of the legendary samurai to the entire world. It's called Bushido, the Soul of Japan. So, to really get what Bushido is all about, we've got to start by cackling the image we all have in our heads of the samurai. Seriously, when you hear the word samurai, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Is it, a super fierce warrior, sword drawn? Maybe a soldier who's bound by this incredibly strict, almost fanatical code? Okay, so what you're seeing here is the huge gap between the myth and the reality, at least according to this book. See, Bushido isn't some kind of combat manual. Not at all. It's actually a deep philosophy about how to live a noble life, how to be compassionate, and believe it or not, even how to face death with grace. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We're going to look at how this one book, which was, get this, originally written in English for people in the West, totally changed how the world saw the samurai. So you have to wonder, who was the person behind this cultural bombshell, and what made him feel like he absolutely had to write it? Well, the author's name was Inazo Nitobe, and his story is incredible. He was born into a samurai family right at the exact moment that the entire samurai class was being dismantled. So he literally watched the swords, the top knots, all of it just disappear. But he was convinced that the spirit of the samurai, which is Bushido, was the real soul of Japan. And he felt this urgent need to make the rest of the world understand that. And here's the spark that lit the fire. A Belgian scholar asked him a simple question. Hey, I hear there's no religious education in Japan, so how do you teach kids right from wrong? And that hit Nitobe hard. He realized that the West basically thought Japan didn't have a moral compass, so he wrote Bushido to be the answer to that question. And the book just blew up. It became a global phenomenon, really. Why? Because Nitobe was brilliant. He built a bridge between two very different cultures. He took Bushido and compared it to things the West already got, like the Knight's Code of Chivalry. He showed them that, yeah, you can have a powerful moral code that's built on things like honor and shame, not just on religious texts. I mean, it's no surprise that big names like Teddy Roosevelt were totally fascinated by it. All right, let's get to the heart of the book now and see how all this actually built into a practical, powerful code for how to live your life. So, Nitobe boils the whole spirit of the samurai down to 7 core virtues. Okay, this table right here, this is basically the moral map for a samurai. Every single one of these is crucial, but let's zoom in on a couple of them to really get a feel for how deep they go. First up, we've got rectitude, or gi. Nitobe has this great analogy for it. He calls it the skeleton of the soul. It's the absolute foundation. It's about doing something not because it'll make you money, but simply because it is the right thing to do. Without that, he says, all your other skills and talents are basically useless. And then there's this classic saying, a samurai has no second word. This just perfectly nails the idea of veracity, or makoto. A samurai's word was everything. Their promise was an unbreakable bond, way more important than any signed contract. To a samurai, lying was literally worse than dying. Now, this is a big one. For the samurai, honor, Mayo, it wasn't just a part of life, it was life. And on the flip side, shame was a fate worse than death. This is so key to understanding the ritual of seppuku. It wasn't just suicide, it was seen as this final, incredibly serious act to prove your inner purity and restore any honor that had been lost. Okay, so you've got these virtues, but how did they actually live them out day to day? Well, the book walks us through this journey, showing us the different stages of a samurai's life. Right from when they were kids, samurai were taught to endure hardship without complaining, to value honor way more than money. Their sword, that wasn't just a weapon, it was seen as the soul of the warrior, a guardian of peace. And the goal of life, it wasn't to live a long time, it was to have a magnificent death. And that whole idea, that concept of a magnificent end, is captured in what is maybe the most beautiful and powerful metaphor in the entire book, the cherry blossom. So, Nitobe draws this incredible contrast. Think about a rose. It withers, but it clings to the stem, right? It holds on. Now, think about a cherry blossom. At the absolute peak of its beauty, it doesn't cling, it lets go and scatters in the wind. And that was the samurai ideal. To face death not like it's some tragedy, but as the natural, beautiful end to a life lived with honor. Okay, so the samurai class itself is long gone. It's been over 100 years. So you might be thinking, why does any of this matter to us today? Well, what Bushido offers is a pretty radical alternative to how we often live our lives today, a life measured by profit and loss. It pushes us to ask a totally different set of questions. Not, how can I make the most money, but what is the right thing to do? Not, how can I avoid losing, but what is the honorable way to live?
And really, this is the challenge the book throws right at us. What's your standard? Is it profit and loss? Are you guided by the numbers on a spreadsheet? Or is it aesthetics, a sense of what makes a life beautiful, honorable, and well-lived? The samurai themselves are gone, but their compass, that remains. The questions their philosophy asks are just as relevant now as they ever were. So, the final thought I want to leave you with is a simple one. What guides you?